But we hear you.
Okay, just as long as you guys could hear me, my computer is kind of, I don't know what's going on, but just as long as you guys could hear me, hello, you guys. My name is Kimberly Howard. I, and I'm so honored to serve you guys tonight. Tonight, you are here because you want to learn about how to save for your kids, right? And how to build a legacy for your next generation. So, the Million Dollar Baby is special, near and dear to my heart. I have the pleasure of co hosting with Miss Monica Castaneda. We will be sharing on, how valuable this plan is, right? And how do you start one like this for your grandkids and children? So I will share my screen and have Miss Monica start with us. So give me 1 second. Oh, all right. Are you guys able to see my screen? Give me a
Yes,
thumbs up.
yeah. Yes.
Okay, my computer is not
Okay.
participating. There you go.
You did?
All
Okay.
right. All right, Miss Monica, take it away.
Okay. Thank you so much, Miss Kimberly. I'm so blessed and honored to be here with all of you this evening. The Million Dollar Baby Plan is actually one of my favorite presentations. It really hits close to home, as a mother and a grandmother. I personally set up this plan for my youngest grandson, David. He just turned a year old at the end of March. So it's my goal to build and secure his financial future for years to come. But before we dive into the details of the Million Dollar Baby Plan, I want to take a moment to talk about the current financial reality that so many families in our country are facing today. So here at OIC, our mission is to empower people through financial education and entrepreneurial mentorship. So currently 60 to 70% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. That means even people with good jobs and steady incomes are struggling just to keep up because things are just getting more expensive every day. And 47% of Americans can't even afford a $1,000 emergency without borrowing from someone or putting it on a credit card. Think about that. Just one flat tire, a medical bill, an appliance breaking down could really lead to financial stress adding to their debt. The average American household carries over $104,000 in debt. I've worked with many individuals along the financial spectrum, and they all feel like their money just goes right back out, comes in and goes out, right? Earning more doesn't always mean keeping more. But, what about our younger generation? The average college graduate leaves school with about $37,853,000 in student loan debt. Imagine starting your first real job and then realizing hundreds of dollars coming out of your paycheck are just already, they're spoken for. So this is just very difficult. It's a very difficult financial weight that delays most people's future. And the average monthly Social Security benefit for retirees this year is just $1,976,000 per month. Okay, that's less than $24,000 a year. Can you imagine working 40 years only to retire on that amount between rent, groceries, and medical expenses? No wonder it's hard to keep up with inflation. And even those who save aren't really in great shape. The average 401k or 403b balance at age 60 is about $240,000. That's only $20,000 per year. So between Social Security and retirement savings, many retirees are looking at under $35,000 a year before taxes. Another key reason people struggle is job changes. So, on average, a person changes careers every 4 years, and even less time amongst those age 35 and younger. Every time they switch jobs, many don't transfer or, or continue their retirement accounts. Some even cash them out thinking it's just a small amount, right? But that small amount actually could have doubled or tripled by retirement. And that's exactly why I'm so passionate about financial literacy and long-term planning. Statistics like these aren't just numbers. They're real people, real families, and real futures. And that's what inspired me to share the Million Dollar Baby Plan, a simple, powerful way to start building wealth early. It's the same plan I started for my grandson when he was only 2 months old, because I want to rewrite the story. I don't want him living paycheck to paycheck. I don't want him worried about how he's going to afford emergencies or even his retirement. So now we're going to show you a 2-minute video that summarizes what the Million Dollar Baby Plan is all about. And then we're going to take a deeper dive and go over the benefits of how it works and how you can start a plan for your child.
Sorry, one moment.
Sorry, you guys, because my computer is slow.
A pretty money-savvy guy once said, "Someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago." So you're ready to start saving for your kids' future. You already understand the power of compound interest over time, so you know the sooner you start, the better. So where should you be saving that money? Let's talk about perhaps the most powerful and least known savings vehicle for kids on the market, Indexed Universal Life, or IUL. IUL stands out against all other savings vehicles in one main area of strength: flexibility. Other financial vehicles lock you into what you can use your savings on, but an IUL can be a first car, a college education, a down payment on a house, a wedding. IUL cash value can be used however, whenever, and on whatever you choose. Plus, since it's built on a financial chassis of life insurance, your child is instantly covered with hundreds of thousands of dollars of permanent life insurance with living benefits, simply as a side benefit of utilizing IUL as your choice of savings vehicle. Now don't freak out, the fact that it's life insurance is actually a good thing. Life insurance cash value comes with a ton of unique side benefits, like your cash value being protected from market losses, cash value growing tax deferred and being accessible tax-free, protection from lawsuits, and IUL cash value is not considered in asset calculations when applying for student loans for college. So, what could one of these policies look like for your kiddo? Let's say you had a baby today, and to take maximum advantage of the power of compound interest over time, you immediately start socking away $100 per month into an IUL. Right away, your child is now covered with $371,000 of permanent life insurance coverage with living benefits. That's a pretty nice little side benefit. And that financial foundation you establish for them today will continue to grow with them over the years and be available throughout their lifetime for whatever they need or want to use it for. Plus, if they don't access that money, right around retirement, their IUL is conservatively projected to hit $1 million of cash value. And at age 65, they could turn on a tax-free income stream of $75,000 per year that will last them the rest of their lives, no matter how long they live. The point is, they have options. IUL is the most flexible savings vehicle for children on the market, and the best time to plant that seed is today.
All right, wasn't that a great video? So the Million Dollar Baby Plan uses an indexed universal life, an IUL insurance policy, which is a financial strategy designed to build generational wealth. It involves purchasing an IUL policy for a child at a young age and funding it over time to accumulate the cash value. The goal is to create lifelong financial benefits, including tax advantage growth, a death benefit, and the ability to borrow against a policy for major life expenses. So the top 3 benefits of the Million Dollar Baby Plan. So cash value growth, okay? A parent, a grandparent like me, or a legal guardian can open an IUL policy for a child. Premiums are paid into the policy, which grows in cash value based on the index interest strategy. Okay, for example, an S&P 500 performance with the cap and a floor. So to understand how index works, we need to understand how money grows. So what is an indexed interest strategy? Okay, with a fixed strategy, your interest rate is locked in. You know exactly how much money is going to grow, maybe 1%, 2% every year, and you know your principal is safe and guaranteed. Your money will never lose value no matter what happens in the market. Okay, the common examples of these accounts include, a savings account or a traditional CD. Okay, the trade-off is while your money is protected, your growth is limited. Okay, now the next one we have is variable strategy. This one is more predictable. It offers great potential for growth, but carries a higher risk of loss, okay, especially when the market goes down. This is a type of strategy you're going to see in a 401k plan, 403bs, or individual stocks. When the market performs well, your account grows. But when the market dips, your balance can drop also. There's no guarantees here. Okay, so now this is where the index strategy comes in. Think of it as the middle ground between a balance between growth potential and protection. An index account mirrors the performance of the market index, like the S&P 500, but your money is not directly invested in the market. That means you get to participate in the upside of the market when the market does well, but you're protected from the downside when it drops. Okay, you're going to typically find this strategy in life insurance products, such as the $1 Million Baby Plan. Remember, the whole purpose of insurance is to transfer risk. Shift the risk of loss from you to the insurance company. Okay, with an index strategy, the insurance company gives you a guaranteed floor of 0%, which means that even in the worst case scenario, like when the market dropped 30% or 40% in 2008 or 2022, your account won't lose a single penny. You may not earn interest that year, but your money is going to stay protected. So unlike the variable strategy, where you can lose part of your investment, the index strategy gives you peace of mind, knowing you have no downside risk and still have the room to grow when the market rises. That's why so many families, including mine, use this index-based strategy to build long-term wealth, especially for plans like the $1 Million Baby, where protection and steady growth are key. Okay, you're probably asking yourself why life insurance, right? Because when the cash value is tied into life insurance, there's tax advantages. The cash value with the policy grows tax deferred, meaning you don't pay taxes on the growth as it occurs. Your child can later access this cash value tax-free through policy loans for education, home purposes, or even retirement. So the wealth transfer of legacy. Okay, your child can continue funding the policy into adulthood, allowing it to grow into a potential $1 million asset. And this is where it gets powerful. When the insured passes away, the beneficiaries receive a tax-free death benefit. Okay, so imagine if your child eventually has a policy worth maybe $2 million, that $2 million would go directly to the next generation, completely tax-free. So think about it. What if that happened to your family? Okay, would that have completely changed your financial future? Your story? And think about all the opportunities that it would create for generations to come. This is what true legacy building looks like. It's not just about money, okay? It's about giving your children and grandchildren the freedom to dream bigger, to live better, and to continue passing on that legacy. Okay, so now I'm going to send it back over to Kimberly, and she's going to talk about the comparisons of an IUL and other plans. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Amazing information, Miss Monica, right? I was just thinking about that. I'm like, and I always ask this question is, do you know your great, 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 great grandparents? Miss
No, I
Monica
don't.
shaking her head, no. Why? Because they didn't leave us any money, right? So you can be a star to really change the next generation. Because one thing that I always say that's guaranteed, right, in life is one, we got to pay taxes. And using this type of investment strategy, like Miss Monica said, that's why people use this, is to not pay taxes on capital gains. But two is we're all going to pass away one day, right? We don't ever want to think about these things, but it happens, right? And that's why this is so near and dear my heart, because I did lose my youngest son. And we never want to think about, losing our kids or anything like that. But when you're starting a plan for them early, this can be a generational wealth builder. So here, put an 8 in the chat if you're already saving for your kids, whether that's college or first home or anything like that. Because when I was saving, but it wasn't in the right place. It was just in a regular checking account, right? So here, it's a high yield savings. Maybe you're putting something in a high yield savings, which is an amazing savings strategy too, but you're only get like 3 to 4%, right? Um, there's growth potential, it's safety, and there's protection. You don't have to worry about it losing money, but there's no tax advantage. In a high yield savings, they give you a tax form at the end of the year, and you have to give that to your tax person of the interest you made, right? But in a 529 plan, and you see the $1 million baby, that there are tax advantage. So your capital gains are not taxed. So it's a way to, that's why the rich people this is where they put their money into tax-free vehicles. Okay. In a high yield savings, you do have the liquidity and access to funds. So if you did need it, I always say for a high yield savings, you only want to use it for emergency funds. If you're building your emergency funds, that's where you want to utilize your high yield savings. But if it's for saving for college for your children or long-term savings, right, as you see the $1 million baby, two, there is a liquidity and access to funds, which I will show you with my own son's policy. But in a 529 plan, there is not, because with a 529 plan, you guys, you have to use it for educational purposes only. And if you do not, then you will get penalized, right? If you access those funds. But what if your child is so smart, they get scholarships? Or what if your child wants to open up a business, right? They don't want to go to school. They want to go to, go to training with millionaires and want to train with them, okay? Because that's my son. He wants to be an entrepreneur. As you see, the guaranteed benefits, right? It has it with the IUL, the flexibility. The IUL checks that off. The legacy and wealth transfer that Miss Monica said, right? Um, in a 529 plan, yes, you're saving for your kids' college. But in the IUL plan, there's more wealth transfer, which I will show you in detail. Um, Protection against inflation, right? Things are rising nowadays. So you want to get a higher return on investment, especially for long-term savings. Okay. I mean, I am in California and gas prices is $7 over here, right? I remember when they were $2 back in the day. But look, right? You have to make your money work for you, right? And these type of plans will give you a higher return on investment. And then the last one is does not affect financial aid. So if you had a savings account for your child or you had a 529 plan for your child, they're going to say, Miss Monica, you have enough money to pay for college. You don't qualify for financial aid. So with an IUL plan, they don't look at it as an asset. okay? Because it's linked to a life insurance. So you're able to apply for financial aid and your child is able to get financial aid. So how do I set up a $1 million baby plan for my child? The first one is you want to choose a reputable insurance company, right? You want to look for an insurer with strong financial ratings, A or higher, and favorable for IUL products for children. So our company, I mean, we are a brokerage, so we work with many companies, but one of our flagship companies has been around for 175 years. So they've been through the recession, depression, right? They never lost a penny. That is their slogan, never lost a penny with their clients' money. So definitely choosing a reputable insurance company is so important. And then two, structure the plan properly. This is where we come in. So if someone invited you today, right, we are financial professionals. We do have a license to help our clients structure a plan for their child. Every person is different. So we'll show you kind of examples on what you can do, what you can start off with. But this is where we come in. We do what's called a financial needs analysis with you and your family to see what fits best for you and your child. So you want the parent or guardian is the person that owns the policy. Okay, so you guys control the policy, and the child is the person that's insured. Because they're a child, the cost of insurance, you guys, is little, right? This is the best time to open a policy. People ask me, "Oh, why should I open up a policy? My child is still little, right? They're not old enough." No, that is not the way of thinking. They are little. This is the best time because what if they have sicknesses later on, right? We have an agent on our platform. Her son got diagnosed with cancer, terminal cancer, at the age of 22. So anything can happen, but because they had this already in place, they were able to take money out. So, which I will show you. And then choose a coverage funding strategies that maximize long-term cash value growth and that it aligns with your goals. Okay, so we help you with this process. We want to help you understand how the growth and protection feature works. As Miss Monica mentioned, right? She showed you how money grows. We use what's called index funds. So if the market goes down, it has the downside protection. So you don't lose your money, but it has a cap. Obviously, we can't get all the gains. So they capped on how much you can make, usually 9 to 12%, but it's way better than putting it into a high yield that's only gaining 3 to 4%, right? And then the tax advantage loan and withdrawal options, right? So if you needed the money for college or a first home, whatever it is that it's you don't get tax on your capital gains. There's tax advantage and optional riders for future insurability and long-term care, which I will show you. So what if they get sick? What if, you couldn't work anymore, right? What if you needed money for your care? I'll talk about that too, because not only this works for children, but obviously they call it $1 million baby plan for a reason, which I'll share. But this works for you as well, right? If you want to save and protect your income, this is the best way. And then apply and fund the policy. So for a child, there's minimal underwriting, usually gets approved on the spot or 24 to 48 hours if they don't have any medical concerns. But underwriting is pretty simple, okay? Um, and then begin funding it early to maximize the compounding growth. So one thing that my kids have, right, is more time, right? They're not going to retire in the next 5 to 10 years. They have that money to compound over time. And then the policy ownership can be transferred to the child in adulthood. So, Miss Marlena, right? If you're like, hey, our goal is to teach our kids how to save, right? So we can transfer that policy to the child and have them continue to pay for it. Or there's other strategies where we can structure it because we have some grandparents, they want to just give money for education. There's a 10 pay, 20 pay structure where you only pay it for 10 years and you let it compound over time. So there's different ways. And as this quote here is, train up a child in the way he should go, even when he is old, and not depart from it. So our goal is education, right? Educating our next generation how money works, how to save. And that's why we have these every single Wednesday, you guys. So if you have kids that are starting or in their 20s and that have jobs, right? Invite them to this so that we can teach them what $100 can do, okay? Just starting. So I'm going to go over, this is actually my son's policy. His name is King David. When we opened it, he was 9 years old. However, I have three of these, okay? When I first started the industry and someone showed me this, I'm like, whoa, not why doesn't more people do this? But when I saw the growth on his policies when I first started, he was 1 years old. Okay. They didn't have what's called living benefits, which I will share. Okay. So me and my husband were like, hey, we can start, we can add an additional $50 a month. We're going to put $100 a month in this new policy because of the living benefits. Okay. God forbid he passes away tomorrow, then the family will have 186,386. However, this is where that $1 million concept comes in play. And I will show you how we structure these because there is a way to structure them. Okay. At 69, for mom and dad just starting $100, he will have $1.9 million in this, 74, 2.7, and then it just continues, right? This is called generational wealth, passing that down. And if he becomes ill, this is why we open another policy, is because they didn't have this when I first opened one for my child. They have terminal illness. Look at this, 65. Okay, I work for Adult Protective Services, and one of the things is people have these big, large retirement accounts, but when a stroke or heart attack happens, they have to deplete all their funds because they need a higher level of care. It's so sad to see because in an assisted living here in California, it's $10,000 minimum a month, right, to pay. So they end up depleting all of their funds. But if they had this in place, look, they have chronic illness, $30,000 a month, critical illness up to $1 million, lump sum, critical injury up to 1 million, and now Alzheimer's, they just added that too, up to 1.5 million at age 65, right? So it gives them a peace of mind later down the line. All right, so this is how I structured it. So here we started off $100 a month, and then in 5 years, me and my husband said, hey, we can put another $100 a month because we know we're gonna increase our income, right? So we're gonna put 2,400 a year in this policy. And then at age 19, we're gonna teach our son because we know that, he's already working, an entrepreneur making money. We're gonna have him put an extra $200 a month, but we're only going to fund this until age 45. So if we can go on to the next page, at age 45, we're going to stop it and say, hey, he doesn't want to contribute anymore. So we have contributed altogether 147,000 in this plan. And then at age 45, that 147 became $412,000. Where can you put money that's going to securely, right, um, be, increase your money? Okay. Um, and as time goes, right, let's say 60 years old, and we're not putting any more money in this has accumulated to about $1 million. And let's just say because this policy is more for generational wealth building, we're not going to touch this because he has other policies. But let's say at 80 years old, okay, because mom and dad started with $100 and teaching our kids how to save, then he can pass down 4.1 million to the next generation. Isn't that amazing, you guys? Right? That 147 became $4 million if he lived that age. So this is the power of starting your kids early. So what if you don't have a 9-year-old and you have a young adult, right? They can definitely start this. When I first started this, I was in I was 30 years old and I'm like, man, I wish I knew this a lot younger, okay? Because remember what works for us is the time, the compound, right? The time and then how much money we put into it. So young adult, one of my business partners, she set this up for someone that just started their career. They didn't want to do a 401k. They wanted to do more of a protection and also retirement building. So she started him off with 150 a month. God forbid he passes away tomorrow, then the family will receive 167,237. But this is structured a little bit differently. Okay. As you see here, there is what's called a lifetime income benefit rider. That means this person gets an income for life. So my business partner basically compared it to Social Security. We don't know Social Security is going to be obsolete by the by the time this person retires. However, does anyone know the most that you can get for Social Security? Okay, so the maximum benefit depends on when you retire. Okay, it depends on the age. You have to retire at age 70 in 2025, and your maximum benefit would only be $5,108. So you work all those years to get $5,108. But in order to qualify you guys for the maximum benefit, you have to earn about, this was 2025, you have to earn about taxable amount is $176,000. So you got to make that to get the maximum in Social Security. And you got to wait till age 70 years old to claim your Social Security benefits. So we compared it to, okay, what if we start our own pension, okay, our own Social Security, because we don't know if Social Security is going to be there. So here, at age 70, he's going to get $6,579, okay? Because we structure this for him as an income rider. As you see in the bottom, he gets all the benefits too. God forbid something happens, okay? So it also gives them a peace of mind. But here, it's structured a little bit differently. So the first 3 years, they're doing 150. Then they increase this because they know they're going to get a cost of living raise. We're going to increase this to 250 a month. Okay. And then at year 7, we're going to increase this to 350 a month. So we're just increasing their savings over time. Okay. And then the maximum that they're going to put in this account is $500 a month because that's what most average. Usually people put $250 to $500 a month in their 401k. right? So here he's only gonna put money until 57 because he wants to retire early. So they have contributed 181,200 into this plan, and that 181 become almost $500,000. Okay. But he's not going to touch it for the first couple of years because he has other investment opportunities that he's doing. But at age 70, we're going to turn on what's called the lifetime income rider, meaning this is what he will get for the rest of his life. So he will get 78,948 for the rest of his life. So if he lives even up to 120, but let's just say he lives to 92, okay? This has paid out $1.8 million dollars, and he only invested 187. So if he passes away at 92, he has taken all this money out, okay? And he still leaves a benefit to his children or beneficiaries of 148,000. Where can you find a place where you're going to take an income for the rest of your life and still leave something to your beneficiaries? There's no other place, right? It's life insurance. So that's why when someone showed me this, I'm like, I want three of those because this is how people build wealth, like the Rockefellers, right? So, what are the benefits of the $1 million baby plan with an index universal life? One, you have the tax advantage growth, right? Cash value grows without immediate taxation. Two, protection from the market. Gains are capped, but there's a floor to prevent losses, right? As you see the market, I was looking at it, I think it was today, the S&P is down. I think it was like uh, 10%. So it's up and down every day. People are losing money, but then you don't have to worry about that. Okay. Three, there's legacy and death benefit. So even in your saving money, you still leave a benefit to your beneficiaries, right? So it provides a financial security for future generations. Four, flexibility, access to funds. So you don't have to use this just for college. What if they need a car or they want a down payment on a house? So loans can be taken out tax free for major life events and expenses. And then contributions will come back to you one way or another, right? So you contributed, it's either with the cash value, as you guys saw, the living benefits, God forbid something happens and you needed money for your care, right? It has the living benefits. The income, as we showed, you can utilize this as an income rider, a guaranteed pension kind of for life, and the death benefit, right? We're all going to pass away. So it leaves um, it leaves something for your beneficiaries. So those are the benefits of an IUL. Why start early and why we want to educate parents is because it allows for lower monthly and total contributions, right? You can start off with $100. You can start off with $50, but it's the way we structured it, right? You want to make sure that you continue to put and increase your contribution, but more years for compound growth, right? Because they have more years until retirement, greater long term cash accumulation, as you saw, and then future financial flexibility and lifelong insurability. So they are covered, you guys, for the rest of their life, right? Because this is also becomes a permanent life insurance for them. So time matters more than money. Okay. That's why we want to start early. So if you're thinking like, okay, what are the next steps? I like this, Miss Kim. Definitely get back to the person who invited you today because we will be able to do what's called a financial needs analysis to basically know, your goals for your children, right? Set up an appointment to structure a plan for your own children, and let us help you create your $1 million baby. We do this every Wednesday at 6:30. So if you know any parents, grandparents who would love to start saving for their children, grandchildren, invite them on this call, right? Instead of buying them, presents at Christmas, right? That only last for 10 minutes, right? Because I told my parents, don't buy them toys. It only gets used for 10 minutes and then they don't even look at it anymore. Start something, right? Even if it's $50 a month, that can go a long way. So I appreciate you guys for joining us tonight. And we will catch you on the next call. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.